Hi everyone, Susie here from Minnesota, and I garden in a zone 4B, and it's about the middle of March, and I got going on this and I forgot that I was going to do a quick film, an update on my petunia cuttings. This is the first year for me taking cuttings, and I had started plants earlier in the season. I want to say it was January or December, and I thought, oh, I'll try that, see how long it takes from seed to bloom. And this is tidal wave hot pink petunia. All my petunias that I'm growing this year are trailing, and from seed to bloom it took 6 weeks. So at that point I had blooms in February, so I can plant out safely in the middle of May. Too early, and they were too far gone for me to give a haircut, so I decided to take cuttings, do a little experiment that way. And I honestly didn't think it was gonna work because I was having an issue with my coleus cuttings and everything else. So what I did is, again, just like every cutting, you always cut it below leaf node, take off most of the foliage, and I had to pinch the tops out. I can show you here. Not that one. I pinched that because there was a bud on that. But right here, the only reason because it had a bloom, and you always want to pinch off the blooms. You want them to focus on getting good roots. And so what I did is I just took a container that I have. I didn't even put drainage holes in it. I had a pre-moistened potting mix, never have fertilizer in it. I don't ever for my cuttings or for when I start my cuttings or for seed starting, just because they don't need that at that point. And I had a pre-moistened potting mix, and when I put the cuttings in, I just kind of put them around the container. The first batch I only did 4 because I just really didn't think it was going to work out, and I had a lot going on too. It was taken care of, and so I just watered it in just a little bit so there's no air pockets, and then I put it in this container here. It's just a food container that I got at the dollar store. I had a lot of these, and so I like it because the dome here is pretty high, so I could fit that bowl in here without the foliage touching and getting bent. And then what I did is I just set it aside. It wasn't under grow lights. It was just in my plant room, which there's light, but not direct light on it. And then within, I would say, about 4 weeks, all of a sudden I saw the foliage was touching I'm calling it a humidity dome. And I thought I should probably put that under grow lights. And so when I took the humidity dome off, they did buck a little bit, and you know, for that 4 weeks I didn't have to water it at all. That humidity dome kept moisture in. They did good, no watering. That's saying something. But then when I took that dome off, they kind of threw a fit because they liked that humid environment, and with a little drier air they did wilt, which I do see a lot with, but they did perk up. But when I did put it under grow lights, I probably put it under for about 4 or 5 hours, and then increased the time if I remembered. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it went on a whole day and they were not happy at the end of the day, but they did perk up. And so all of a sudden they were really growing, they were branching out, and the root system is amazing. And I had done a second batch 2 weeks later, and still, so this was the second batch. You can tell it's smaller, and this was the first batch. So my only complaint is I like the way it looked from seed because it branched out a little bit better. I kind of say it looked like an octopus, but I think given some time and some pinching, it'll start branching off a little bit more. But talk about a money saver. If you only wanted to grow a couple varieties of petunias and they're trailing, and you could buy a packet of seeds, grow them early, take a lot of cuttings, and I would say if you could even get 8 plants to germinate, you could probably take, I bet you could get 50 cuttings from it. I could have probably gotten a lot more, but like I said, I've got a lot going on, so I have a limited amount of space. But I am going to see if I can get these to work. I will keep you updated in my next plant room tour or seedling tour, and that will be around April 1st, just because I'm sure after I pot these up, they're going to throw a fit. So I save all of these containers that I get from the nurseries from year to year. I just clean them up. And then I have a potting mix in here. It doesn't have any fertilizer, but I added fertilizer. I added a slow release, and it's Osmocote. And I've been using this for everything, and I love it. Not sponsored, it's just working out really good, and I haven't had to fertilize anything. It's just been nice because I get tired of when I do it. I know everybody has a set day, but here's the thing, not every plant takes up water like the next one. So some plants may need to be watered and fertilizer at that time, and others it could be another 4 or 5 days. So it's just, this just works out better for me, and the plants are loving it, I'm loving it, so it's a win-win situation. So the other thing I did, I had pinched out the tops of the plants just to promote bushiness. I probably will do it here, and you want to do it right above a group of leaves. I just have a wastebasket over there. And then get the roots down there. I'm not a huge fan of petunias. The thing is I lost 2 of my huge trees, and so I'm gonna have a lot more sun. So some of these I'm gonna be growing, but a lot of these I'm growing for family and friends. And it's just, they're a high maintenance plant in my eyes. So they're really nice. I think they look really good at the start, and then they just peter out, and they're just heavy feeders. They do not like it when you miss a watering, from my experience in the past. And they just like it, and heavy feeders and haircuts. And sometimes I just don't feel like putting that much work into just one plant. So it's a personal preference, but it's working. I do have probably 9 other varieties started, which I did today, but who knows? I mean, maybe I got lucky with my first batch and it worked out. So, but yeah, but I'll be planting some. I'm just gonna give it a shake just to kind of settle the soil, no air pockets, and then I am gonna water it in real quick. Not a lot, because right now the entire container doesn't have to be sopping wet. It's already I had pre-moistened the potting mix, so it's in a pretty moist environment. And then set aside, I'll pot up one more. The other thing I was thinking is, when I had in this container, if I would have done a bigger one and say just an actual pot, say an 8-inch or something, I could probably have put maybe 5 cuttings, like space them out correctly, and then I probably just could have just left it in the container, and then come mid-May, I could just put that entire thing into either a hanging basket or even just a pot, and not even worried about potting it up. And I think that would have worked out really good. That way I wouldn't have disturbed the roots, because I really had to wrench these apart. So we'll see. Oops, I was going to use that. So this was a fun experiment, and it just, so very simple. I urge you to try it. It's definitely worth it. Like, this is a huge root system, but like, I did wrench it. I probably took other roots from others. Let's see, is there any, I should probably pinch that up there. I could probably even pinch it lower. We'll see how this likes it. Trying to center it as best as I can. So yeah, all the petunias I started are trailing. I think they're also self-cleaning, which is nice, because I really do not feel like deadheading constantly. But yeah, losing my 2 trees, this is definitely going to be different for me with more of a sun situation, and cannot wait. Some of these already had blooms on. So when you think 4 or 5 weeks and they had blooms, so that kind of lets you know too that you're not going to have to wait a long time. And maybe just the tidal wave hot pink is a very aggressive variety, but very happy. All right, so that's it. Pinched out the tops. We'll see if they branch a little bit more. I will keep you updated on my next seedling tour. I don't know if I said, but they will not grow on. They will not go under grow lights today. I will put them on tomorrow morning, and then kind of monitor the light situation. Not gonna lie, sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. I just don't like to baby things too much, because my dad always said only the strong survive. So it's like if you baby them, then sometimes you get really weak plants. See, and the other thing is with sticky leaves, I can't get, and I mean, I could wash off the leaves, but I don't want to. I really don't want to get the foliage wet. My plant room is very humid right now. I have a dehumidifier going, but I figure it'll be fine. At some point, it'll just kind of wash off, brush off. or go outside and then the rain can get it. Other thing is, if I didn't say, these are awesome fungus gnat catchers. So what I'm going to do is maybe every shelf is going to get a tray of petunias. That way I can catch fungus gnats and help with that. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I urge you to take petunia cuttings. This is really fun, really easy. But I will say this made a huge difference. So if you can't find something like this, I would say use a bin, a clear bin with a clear top to kind of create your own propagation chamber or station, and it keeps the humidity in, less watering, and it just worked really good. And I would say for the first 3 weeks to 4 weeks, you don't really need them under grow lights, just in a bright room, not direct light, just bright, because at this point you want them to live and not stress out and get good roots. So yeah, this was really fun, very happy, but we'll see how these like it once I've done this. So hopefully you enjoyed. Bye for now.